How fast can you expect to build muscles naturally? Gaining strength while burning fat isn't easy to do, but research shows that it is possible. Losing fat and gaining muscle at the same time can seem like an impossible task. To lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. To gain muscle, you need to be in a calorie surplus. It's just not humanly possible for both things to happen at once. Others claim it can be done, but only if you take steroids, or follow a fancy carb cycling protocol, the instructions for which are more complicated than the blueprints for a nuclear power station. So who's right? Although there are lots of ifs, buts, and maybes, it is in fact possible to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. Not everyone can do it, and not everyone can do it to the same degree, but there are many studies that document fat being lost and muscle being gained simultaneously. Here's how you go about it. The first and most important step is to put yourself in a calorie deficit. There are lots of different ways to achieve that, from intermittent fasting or keto to just cutting down on the junk you know you shouldn't be eating. But no matter how you go about creating the deficit, you most definitely need to be in one if fat is going to be lost. You're said to be in a calorie deficit when there is less energy coming from the food you eat than your body needs to move, pump blood around your body, break down and synthesize new muscle protein, along with all the other stuff involved in keeping you alive. When you're in a calorie deficit, there is a gap between the amount of fuel your body needs and the amount it gets from food. So, it starts looking for something to fill that gap. In most cases, that something will be the large pool of chemical energy, fat, stored in your body. Second, you will need to be an overweight beginner. By that, I'm talking about someone who is walking around with a significant chunk of body fat and is new to lifting weights. When you first start weight training, your body is highly responsive and can add muscle very quickly. In fact, researchers from the United States Sports Academy found that a group of overweight beginners lost over 16 pounds of fat and gained almost 10 pounds of muscle during a 14-week training program. In other words, they gained a decent amount of muscle while also losing slightly more than 1 pound of fat per week. When calories were cut, there was still plenty of stored energy available to supply their muscles with the fuel required to grow. Being an overweight beginner means you can get away with a lot. Even with a highly restrictive liquid diet containing less than 1,000 calories a day, weight training still led to an increase in muscle size in a group of obese women. In short, if you haven't touched a weight in your life, you're going to have a much easier time dropping fat and replacing it with muscle. But as you get leaner, things become progressively more difficult. A bodybuilder, for example, who is closing in on the upper limits of his natural muscular potential, is doing well just to hold on to the muscle he currently has while getting shredded for a contest. In one case study, researchers followed a 21-year-old male bodybuilder as he prepared for a contest. Over a period of 14 weeks, he cut his body fat in half, dropping from 14% to 7.2% body fat. However, almost half of that lost weight came from lean body mass. In other words, he lost rather than gained muscle. That's despite the fact he was doing a lot of the things that are supposed to help you retain muscle, eating plenty of protein, lifting weights 4 times a week, and doing interval training. For anyone in this type of condition, the main benefit of strength training during fat loss is to retain rather than gain muscle mass. What this means is that you'll need to modify your expectations as your body composition changes. All other things being equal, you'll find it easier to build muscle while losing fat when you're going from overweight to lean than you will going from lean to ripped. If you've been lifting weights for some time, the speed at which you gain muscle will have slowed down. And it doesn't matter how many supplements you take, what type of complicated carb cycling protocol you use, or how many muscle building hacks you try, muscle just isn't going to be gained that quickly once you've moved past the beginner stages of training. On a related note, anyone who's been in shape before will find it easier to build muscle and lose fat simultaneously when they return to training after taking a few months off. Next up is protein. If you want to lose fat and gain muscle, you'll need to eat enough protein. Other than lifting weights, getting a sufficient amount of protein in your diet is probably the single most important thing you can do to gain muscle while losing fat. Researchers at McMaster University discovered as much in a 2016 study. They rounded up a group of young men and put them on a month-long diet, where they ate just 60% of what they'd normally need to maintain their weight. Alongside the diet, the men also trained hard 6 days a week, lifting weights and doing intervals, as well as various other forms of intense exercise. Half the men ate a protein-rich diet, getting around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. The rest of the group received just half that amount. As you'd expect, both groups lost fat. Men in the high-protein group, however, were the only ones to gain muscle, finishing the study with an extra 2.5 pounds of muscle mass. While the low-protein group didn't lose muscle, they didn't gain any either. To sum it all up, it is possible to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Even when you're in a calorie deficit, lifting weights and eating enough protein will allow for muscle to be gained, or at the very least retained, while you drop fat. Optimal health is a state of existence where all of the body's functions operate in perfect harmony, a symphony of the factors that make it whole. So what do you want to achieve with your body? You're standing at a crossroad and you're facing two choices. Option 1: continue eating 100 grams plus per day of protein and only digest a small portion of it, keeping muscle gains slower than a drunk turtle. Option 2: improve the digestion of protein, and dramatically boost the amino acids in your bloodstream, making it easier to put on muscle than ever before. So, if you want to build bigger, stronger muscles and experience the healthy high-performance edge that will dramatically increase your protein absorption and synthesis, optimize the value and effectiveness of the protein you are consuming, cleanse your gut, and eliminate constipation, excess gas and acid reflux, and speed up your recovery from tough workouts by 75%, then click the link below this video for my #1 recommendation.